I guess we're trying to bring back a little bit of fun to the show. Although even on this one, there's not a lot of fun.
It's lighter than the rest of the show, we'll just say.
Let's go with that. Let's put this up there on the screen. Dave Chapelle, it appears, has drawn the ire of a Boston crowd after criticizing Israel. This was a kind of a very sparse Wall Street Journal report. And what they say is that it appears, based upon multiple reports, that Dave Chapelle, at a comedy show in Boston on Thursday, criticized Israel's bombing of Gaza at a performance in which the comedian said that the U.S. was aiding the slaughter of innocent civilians. That was at the TD Garden. Chappelle condemned the October 7 attack on Israel by Hamas militants, but then criticized what he said were war crimes in Gaza, according to people in attendance. Quote, the comments came up when Chappelle said that he didn't think students should lose job offers for supporting Palestinians, and audience members' command for the comedian to, quote, shut up, drew an emotional response from Chappelle, who then criticized the Israeli government for cutting off water and other essentials to Gaza and accused it of killing innocent peoples. Some audience members cheered Chappelle and shouted Free Palestine. Others yelled, what about Hamas? Some in the crowd got up and left. Quote, toward the conclusion of his show, he said of Israeli policies and Hamas attacks that two wrongs don't make a right. Now, we have one report from an individual who apparently did attend this show and described it for all of us. Let's put this up there on the screen. They say, quote, I saw Dave Chapelle last night at the Boston TD Garden. It was sold out, so I would say 22,000 people were there. 3/4 into the show, he said, I wanted to address what's going on in Israel-Palestine. He specifically said Palestine and said it before Israel. He said what happened on October 7 wasn't right, but what going on isn't right and not just. You can't kill innocent civilians like that, and the whole world stood silently and watches. Someone shouted at him from the crowd, said, shut the F up, Dave. He went nuts and yelled back, no, you shut the F up. You don't take tens of billions of dollars from my country to go kill innocent women and children and then come and tell me to shut the F up. He said, don't come begging for my money from my country and then go drop bombs on kids and cut off innocent people, water, and electricity. You have the audacity to pay to come see me and then tell me to shut the F up. No, you shut the F up. The crowd started clapping and cheering for him and saying, yes, Dave, chants of Free Palestine, and said, damn right, Free Palestine. He went on a 15-minute rant about being Muslim, and the Israelis are projecting what's wrong with them on Muslims, and the crowd kept on cheering. It was surreal. Crowd was a typical Boston demographic, 80% white, 5% black, quote, the rest Latin and others. So that's a eyewitness report.
We can't confirm this report. This is just floating around on social media. But I will say that does sound like Dave Chapelle, doesn't it?
Absolutely sounds
yeah.
like Dave Chapelle. And yeah, I mean, for the inevitable of like, why are you reporting? Listen, Dave, and this is always a difficulty, he often veers in the direction of social commentary interspersed with his comedy.
That's what he does.
That's what he, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what he's always done. I mean, remember, he did that entire special after George Floyd that he put out. Like, was that comedy? Like, not really. You know, it's a piece of silver. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. My point, though, is that it's clear that this will become a major lightning rod, not just for audiences, but how comedians and others are going to handle it, because it just highlights, like, we're all trying to process something together as a culture at the same time. And it invites, you know, a lot of controversy. This is where I'm sure Dave is happy for the fact that nobody was recording or watching the show while it was happening. Good for him, honestly. I support that policy. But yeah, I do think it shows the difficulty. And also, Dave is not a person to keep his mouth shut. He's going to say what he thinks, which I support. I support 100%.
He's a free, I mean, and
he's a free man.
He's going to do and say what he thinks, whether you agree or disagree. That's certainly been his style from the beginning. I mean, if you go back and watch the very first Chappelle show and some of the stuff that he put on air at comedy, oh my God.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
This was your first episode? So even when he was under the like corporate brand, Dave Chapelle always very much a free man. For me, the reporting is that, you know, this one individual says that there were chants of Free Palestine and the audience was mostly backing him up. We have no way of knowing without being in the room. There were also reports that there were people who were really angered and left because of the commentary and his response to the audience. And obviously somebody reportedly said, you know, shut the F up, Dave, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a reminder of how hot and how incredibly emotional this issue is and how dangerous it, I mean, talk about third rails in American politics. Getting on, you know, saying the quote unquote wrong thing, or as the ADL dude said, not getting the story right on what's happening with Israel and what they're doing to Gaza right now, there is no cancel culture like this kind of cancel culture. And we've seen it in, there have been multiple Palestinian conferences canceled now, one here in Virginia, very close to DC, one down in Texas, I believe, in Houston. You've got Starbucks actually suing their union, Starbucks Workers United, because they put out some pro-Palestinian thing. You got people getting fired. You got some high-level, like very well-known, powerful agent in Hollywood who posted some pretty innocuous, reposted actually, some pretty innocuous stuff on Instagram, and she apologized and still got fired. So yeah, this is, a little bit of a glimpse. Dave Chappelle is wealthy and famous and whatever. He's going to say whatever the hell he wants, and no one is going to tell him to shut up, and he's going to be just fine. But I do think it is a visceral illustration of how intense, how fraught, how emotional this issue is, and how for people who aren't Dave Chappelle, even someone who was a high-level agent in Hollywood, a CAA, how much saying the quote-unquote wrong thing on this issue can have massive implications for you, your personal life, your career, et cetera.
Yes, well said, Krystal. Also, just for people who are wondering, if you even try and mention Israel to me in the DM on Instagram, I'm not going to see it. I've already had it filtered out. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Boy.
Yeah, I highly recommend it, Krystal. There are you can block like any certain words or any of that. So I just have a list of things Israel and Palestine have now been added. I'm in blissful ignorance. So I'm living my life, folks. I'm posting stories about the Museum of the American Revolution and George Washington's war tent. And that's the world that I've decided to live in. Anyways, we just want to say thank you for all your support over the last 2 weeks. It's been very difficult to report on the story. We're still keeping our eye on, as you saw, with Sidney Powell and the Trump news, not taking our eye off that. We're working very hard on the focus group, working to bring you guys the best possible news. We're on call, waiting, making sure that we keep everybody as up to date as possible. And thank you all again for your support, and we are going to see you all tomorrow.
Actually, Ryan will be in for me tomorrow.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Saagar will see you,
I will see you.
Ryan will see you, and I'll see you guys on Thursday.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.